It was just another desperate morning for Elena, an exhausted single mother holding together a life unraveling at the seams. Rent was overdue. Groceries were dwindling. Her daughter Lily needed new shoes, and the school had already sent 2 warning notes home. But this story isn't just about poverty. It's about secrets buried so deep, they whisper in the halls of mansions. This is the chilling tale of how one woman took a cleaning job to survive and uncovered a truth that would shatter her past and haunt her forever. Elena Carter stood in the kitchen of her cramped apartment, fingers trembling as she poured the last of the milk into her daughter's cereal bowl. The carton gave a hollow glug, nothing left. She offered Lily a tired smile, brushing a strand of hair from her daughter's face. "Eat up, sweetheart," she said. "I'll pick up more later." She wouldn't. She couldn't, not unless something changed. And fast. 2 months ago, her life had taken a sharp turn. Elena had lost her job at a local diner after it shut down unexpectedly. Her savings had vanished quicker than she'd imagined. The few gigs she'd picked up cleaning houses weren't enough. Pride had been her last luxury, now survival was all that mattered. Later that day, she sat at the public library's computer, scrolling through online job listings with a hollow sense of hope. That's when she saw it. Housekeeper wanted, full-time, competitive pay, luxury estate outside of town, confidential employer, must start immediately. Elena blinked. It didn't list the owner's name, no address either, just a phone number. Something about it felt strange, but desperation drowns doubt. She dialed. A crisp, male voice answered on the second ring. "Yes, I'm calling about the housekeeper position," she said quickly. I have experience." There was a pause. "Come tomorrow at 8 a.m. A car will pick you up outside the library. No name, no interview, just instructions." That night, Elena didn't sleep. The idea of leaving Lily for the whole day made her anxious. But her neighbor, Mrs. Kemp, had always been kind and agreed to babysit. By 7:55 the next morning, Elena stood outside the library. A sleek black car glided to the curb, so quiet she hadn't heard it approach. The driver, expressionless in a suit, stepped out and opened the back door without a word. As she slid into the plush leather seat, Elena felt the first prickle of unease crawl up her spine. The ride took nearly an hour, twisting through wooded roads and private drives that seemed to grow more exclusive by the mile. Finally, the trees opened up, and the mansion appeared like something from a dream or a Gothic novel. Tall iron gates swung open as the car approached. The estate was enormous, nestled into a hillside, with ivy creeping up stone walls and windows that glinted coldly in the morning light. The driver stopped in front of the grand entrance and motioned for her to get out. "Miss Garner will meet you inside." Elena stepped out and looked around. The silence was unsettling. No birdsong, no rustle of wind, just stillness. Inside, the air was cool and smelled faintly of lavender and something else. Something older, like antique wood and forgotten memories. A woman in her 60s, thin and severe in appearance, greeted her with a sharp nod. "I am Miss Garner, the house manager. You will address me as such. You will clean the east wing, 3rd floor, and service the main hall if instructed. You are not to enter the west wing. Ever. Is that understood?" Elena nodded, swallowing the urge to ask why. Miss Garner handed her a uniform. A black dress, white apron, and cap that looked like it belonged in a period drama. "You will begin now." The tasks were intense but manageable. Dusting tall windows, polishing banisters, wiping down antique chandeliers. The mansion was so vast, she didn't see a single sign of the owner all day. By 6 p.m., Miss Garner returned. "You will be paid daily in cash. Return tomorrow at the same time. The car will fetch you." That night, Elena returned home with more money in her hand than she'd seen in weeks. Lily squealed when she showed her a small box of fresh strawberries and a pack of her favorite markers. For a moment, everything felt okay. But over the next few days, the mansion began to shift around her. Or maybe it was just the way her perception deepened. She never saw who lived there, never heard laughter or voices behind closed doors. Only silence. And sometimes, the faintest sound of piano music drifting through the halls when she knew she was the only one on that side of the house. One day, while polishing a large mirror in a side corridor, Elena caught something strange. A reflection. A man's face. She spun around. No one. Her heart pounded. She told herself it was just fatigue. Imagination. But the next day, she noticed something else. A picture frame on a table in the main hall had been knocked over. Curious, she set it upright and froze. It was a photo. Family. A man in a charcoal suit. A woman. A little girl, no more than 5. Elena's stomach lurched. The girl in the photo had the same dimpled chin. The same hazel eyes. The girl looked like Lily. Shaken, Elena turned the frame over. No names. Just a date 12 years ago. She tucked the photo back carefully. Something wasn't right. That evening, she confronted Miss Garner. "Who lives here?" she asked, unable to hide the edge in her voice. Miss Garner's eyes narrowed. "That is not your concern. You are paid to clean. Nothing more." But it was her concern now. Because Elena had seen that photo. Because the man in the picture looked vaguely familiar, like someone she'd known briefly years ago. Someone she hadn't thought about since Lily was born. She barely slept that night. Her dreams were a swirl of piano music, a little girl's laughter, and that man's cold eyes watching her through the mirror. Elena arrived the next morning more determined than ever. Her mind kept circling that photo. The man's face haunted her memory, not just because of its resemblance to Lily, but because, somewhere in her past, she had seen him before. A one-night encounter. Years ago. A moment she'd filed away under regret and survival. Back then, she was just 22, alone and freshly moved into the city. She'd worked late nights at a downtown lounge, the kind of place where powerful men hid behind cigars and shadows. That's where she'd met him. He'd introduced himself as Daniel. Older, sharply dressed, and charming in a cold, distant way. They talked. She was vulnerable. He didn't ask questions. And after that night, he vanished. She never thought she'd see him again. Until now. On her 4th day at the mansion, Elena arrived to find Miss Garner unusually quiet. Tense even. "Stick to your assigned area," she warned. "And if you see anyone in the West Wing, do not speak unless spoken to." Anyone? Elena thought. She had assumed the house was empty aside from staff. Now someone or something was stirring in the wing she was never supposed to enter. That afternoon, she passed by the grand staircase leading to the forbidden west corridor. A heavy velvet curtain had been drawn halfway, concealing the hallway beyond. And then, she heard it. A door creaking open. Footsteps. Slow. Heavy. She paused, her cleaning cloth in hand, breath caught in her throat. Then quiet. She took a step closer. Another sound. A cough. A man's voice. Deep worn. Muttering something she couldn't make out. She froze, instincts on edge. Logic told her to turn around. But curiosity, and a gnawing fear that her life was connected to this place, pushed her forward. She crossed the velvet curtain. The west wing was colder, dustier, as if time had stopped here. There were portraits on the walls. Stern-faced ancestors staring down with hollow eyes. Rooms with doors cracked open revealed unused bedrooms filled with antique furniture draped in white cloths. A nursery, abandoned. Cobweb toys sat untouched beneath lace curtains. Then she saw a door that was different. Heavy oak. No dust on the handle. Recently used. She pressed her ear against it. Silence. She turned the knob. Locked. But as she started to back away, it clicked open. The door creaked open an inch, then stopped. On instinct, Elena stepped inside. It was dim. Elegant. A study, maybe. Shelves of leather-bound books. A massive desk. Whiskey glasses on a tray. And on the wall, a large, framed photograph. She stepped closer, heart racing. It was him. Daniel. Older than she remembered, but unmistakable. In the photo, he stood beside the same woman from the family portrait. And there, again, that same little girl. But this time, the photo was labeled in gold lettering at the bottom. The Westmore family, Daniel, Elizabeth, and Madeline. 2012. Elena's mouth went dry. Westmore. She knew that name. It was on the birth certificate. But it wasn't Daniel's name. It was his father's. She stumbled back. Her thoughts were spiraling. Was this the man who'd fathered Lily? Was Madeline his daughter too? Were they sisters? Before she could gather her breath, a voice behind her froze her blood. "You're not supposed to be in here." She turned. A man stood in the doorway. Tall, elegant, eyes like slate. Daniel. He hadn't changed much, only aged slightly, like time had been careful with him. But his expression was unreadable. Elena stared, her voice barely a whisper. You live here." He didn't answer. His eyes scanned her face. Slowly, intently. Then, a flicker of recognition. "You," he said softly. "From the lounge." Silence fell between them. Thick, heavy. "I needed work," she said finally. "I didn't know this was your house." He took a slow step toward her. "Does Miss Garner know you came in here?" She shook her head. Another step. "Then let's keep it that way." He opened the door wider, motioning for her to leave. Elena walked past him, heart pounding in her chest like a drum. As she passed, she felt his eyes follow her. Not with anger, with something else. She couldn't sleep. That encounter changed everything. Now she was sure. Lily wasn't just any girl. She was his. But why hadn't he recognized her? Why didn't he ask questions? Or did he already know? That night, Elena barely slept. Her thoughts were racing, memories colliding with the present like shattered glass. Daniel had recognized her. She saw it in his eyes. And now she was certain. Lily was his daughter. But why wasn't he saying anything? Why had he hired her without ever revealing who he was? And what else was hidden in that cold, silent house? The next morning, Elena stepped through the mansion's doors with her pulse tight in her throat. Miss Garner didn't greet her. In fact, the house was unusually quiet, almost like it was watching. She returned to her assigned wing, but her thoughts wouldn't let her rest. She had to know more. As she wiped down a windowsill on the second floor, she noticed something odd. One of the floorboards beneath her feet creaked louder than the rest. Too loud. Hollow. She knelt and gently pressed her weight down. A soft echo answered. She pulled her cleaning supplies aside and pried at the edge of the board. It moved barely, just enough to see that it wasn't nailed like the others. Carefully, she lifted it. Beneath, wrapped in dusty velvet, was a wooden box. Elena hesitated, then opened it. Inside, letters, old, folded in brittle paper, and at the bottom a journal. She flipped through it. The writing was slanted, elegant, and it wasn't hers. It belonged to Elizabeth Westmore, Daniel's wife. "He's pulling away. I don't trust him anymore. Something is wrong. He disappears for hours at night and keeps the West Wing locked. I know there was another woman before me. I think he had a child with her. But he won't talk about it." Elena's blood ran cold. A child before Madeline. A woman who was forgotten, erased, just like she had been. She flipped further. "If anything happens to me, someone needs to know. There are things buried in this house. Secrets. If you're reading this, please, don't believe everything he says." Suddenly, a knock echoed through the hall. Elena jumped. She slammed the box shut and slipped the journal into her apron just as footsteps rounded the corner. It was Miss Garner. "You're needed in the study," she said, voice flat. "Why?" "Mr. Westmore would like to speak with you." Elena stepped into the study. Daniel stood by the fireplace, swirling a glass of dark amber whiskey. He didn't look at her right away, just said, "You've been busy." She said nothing. He finally turned. "You went into Elizabeth's room." Elena's heart stopped. "How do you?" "There are cameras in this house. Discreet. Necessary. You wanted me to find it," she said, suddenly realizing. Daniel's expression didn't change, but his voice softened. "I didn't bring you here by accident, Elena." He took a sip. "When I saw your name on the application, I knew." He looked up at her. "She's mine, isn't she?" "The girl." Elena's throat tightened. "Yes." He nodded slowly. I suspected for years. After you disappeared. I tried to find you once. But I was married. Things were complicated. And now? She asked. He sighed. Elizabeth is gone. 3 years now. Cancer. But long before that, our marriage was broken. Elena clutched the journal in her pocket. She thought you were hiding something. He smiled faintly. I was a child. You. Silence stretched. I didn't bring you here to trap you, he said. I brought you here because I didn't know how else to face what I ran from. But why lie? She asked. Why keep me in the dark? Daniel stared into the flames. Because this house ruins people. And the moment you step into it, you stop being yourself. You become part of its curse. Elena turned to leave, heart pounding. But just as her hand touched the doorknob, Daniel said one more thing. There's something you need to see. Something about Lily. She froze. What about her? Daniel's voice was low, heavy. She's not just our child. She may be the last Westmore with the gift. Elena turned slowly. What gift? Daniel walked to a locked drawer in his desk, pulled out a thin envelope, and handed it to her. Inside was a photo, black and white, dated over a century ago. In the center, a little girl, identical to Lily, same eyes, same hair, same smile, and scrawled on the back, the girl who sees the spirits, the heir of the house that hears. Elena stared at the photograph in her trembling hands. The child in the picture was Lily, but it couldn't be. The photo was over 100 years old. This is a trick, she whispered. Some kind of joke. Daniel shook his head slowly. That girl isn't Lily. Her name was Anora Westmore. My great-grandfather's sister. She looks exactly like my daughter. She is your daughter. And something inside her runs deep in this family. Deeper than blood. Elena felt a chill settle in her bones. What are you talking about? Daniel walked toward the shelves behind his desk. He pulled down a worn, leather-bound ledger and opened it to a page filled with faded ink. Generations ago, my family claimed this land. But before the mansion was built, this place, it wasn't empty. It was sacred, or cursed, depending on who you ask. He turned the page. There were stories of children born into the bloodline who could see what others couldn't. They saw the spirits of the house. They heard the whispers. Anora was one of them. And I believe, so is Lily. Suddenly, things made sense. Elena remembered the times Lily would wake up screaming, saying she saw someone standing at her window, even when they lived on the 3rd floor. She remembered Lily drawing strange symbols in her coloring books. Circles, eyes, trees with mouths. She thought it was just imagination. Trauma from losing stability. But what if it was more? What if Lily had inherited something no child should ever have to bear? Later that day, as Elena wandered the east wing in a daze, a maid she'd barely spoken to before whispered to her in passing, "Don't let her sleep here. Not under this roof." Elena turned. "What do you mean?" The woman looked around quickly, then leaned in. "Children like hers don't last long here. The house, it feeds on them." Before Elena could respond, the woman turned and vanished through a servant's passage. That night, Elena couldn't stop thinking about the photo, the whispers, the journal, the fact that Daniel had brought her here, not just for answers but maybe for something darker. So she went searching again. This time, she followed a long corridor past the kitchen, to a heavy, rusted door she'd seen once but had always been told to ignore. The basement. It groaned open with a shriek of rust. She descended the stone steps, flashlight trembling in her grip. The air was thick with damp earth and something far older. At the bottom, she found a series of bricked alcoves, old storage rooms, forgotten artifacts, broken furniture. But one alcove had something different. A child's bed, small, iron bars, blankets still folded, and on the wall beside it, scratched in chalk over and over, "I see you, I see you, I see you." The whisper. Suddenly, Elena's flashlight flickered. A cold wind swept past her, and from the darkness, a voice, small and clear. "Mommy." She spun around. Nobody there. But it was Lily's voice. She ran. Elena didn't sleep. She couldn't. Not after what she heard in the basement. Lily's voice. Clear as day, calling Mommy from the dark. When Elena knew Lily was miles away, safe with a sitter. Unless she wasn't anymore. At sunrise, Elena raced back to the study. Daniel was already there, waiting, as if he hadn't slept either. She called to me, Elena said, breathless. From the basement. Daniel nodded grimly. Then it started. What has? He poured himself a drink. The awakening. Every few generations, the house chooses a child from the bloodline. One who can see it, feel it, hear the spirits that never left. He turned to her. That's Lily. Elena stepped back. You knew this, and you brought us here anyway. I brought you here because it's the only place she can be protected. No, her voice shook. You brought us here because you want the house to take her. That afternoon, Elena searched for answers, and found them in the last place she expected. Behind a wall in the West Wing nursery, she discovered a hidden door. Inside, a sealed chamber, untouched by time. Dust floated like ghosts in the air. In the center, a crib, and in that crib, a faded, leather-bound family Bible. She opened it. Inside were dozens of names, all children. Some names were crossed out with red ink. Dates of death listed at impossibly young ages. Next to each, a phrase repeated again and again. Taken by the house. Given for peace. Suddenly, Daniel appeared behind her. You weren't supposed to see this, he said. Elena turned. You've known all along what this place does. What it demands. He looked tired. Hollow. It's how we've kept the curse contained. Every few decades it asks for one. Just one. You think Lily is going to be your offering? He didn't respond. Elena backed away. You'll never touch her. Daniel stepped closer. You don't understand. If she leaves now, it'll follow her. It won't stop. This house binds itself to the ones it chooses. And if you take her before the ritual is complete. She's 6 years old. Elena screamed. You want to offer her to something living in your walls? Daniel's voice broke. I didn't choose this. I was born into it. Just like she was. Elena's hands were shaking, but her voice was steel. Then I'll end it. Right now. That night, while the house slept, Elena crept through the halls with Lily bundled in her arms. The mansion groaned around her, the air growing colder with every step. Lights flickered. Walls whispered. Lily stirred. Mommy. They're telling me not to go. Elena kissed her forehead. Don't listen. Just hold on to me. As she reached the front doors, they slammed shut with a deafening bang. Behind her, Daniel's voice echoed from the shadows. If you take her, she will suffer worse. I'll take that chance, Elena said. But she's not staying here. She turned the iron key Miss Garner had once given her. The door creaked open. Wind howled. The floor trembled. Lily screamed. Then silence. They stepped out. The mansion didn't collapse. It didn't chase her. It just watched. From the tall windows above, Daniel stood like a statue, eyes hollow, lips moving in a silent prayer. As Elena placed Lily in the car, she looked back one last time. A child stood in the upstairs window. It wasn't Lily. It wasn't Madeline. It was Anora. Watching. Waiting. Still there. Elena and Lily moved far away. Changed their names. Tried to forget. But sometimes, in the quiet of night, Lily still wakes up screaming. Still draws those same circles. Still says she sees a little girl in the corners of her room. And sometimes Elena wonders, did they ever really leave the house? Or did the house follow them?